Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Sweet Tips here. This is a pure gold bar that's been triple refined in a recent video. And if you look right here, a little bit of frosting on that one little dimple right there, and that's an indication that we still got a little contamination in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this through the process. It's already gone through 3 refinings. We're going to put this through the process one more time here. I'm going to put it in a 2-liter beaker. I'm going to add a stir bar, and then we're going to cover this thing up with some hydrochloric acid. About 350 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. Now I'm going to add about 60 milliliters of nitric acid, maybe a little more, and we're going to add that right on in, and then we're going to turn on the stir bar and some heat, and we're going to let this gold bar dissolve. Now it would be easier to melt the gold bar and pour it into shot. It would dissolve easier, but I'm going to do it this way. I think this will be a little more interesting, watching the actual bar dissolve in the aqua regia. There's our little piece of gold. That's all that's left of the bar that we dissolved. This has been on stirring and boiling now for about 3 hours. Started this at 1 o'clock. The time right now is 4. So we've been at it for about 3 hours now. We're gonna let this boil until all the fumes go away and go from there. It's been on for about 4.5 hours now, and I think we've got everything to dissolve. So now what we're going to do is pull it down off the heat. We're going to let this cool off. I'm adding some ice here to cool it down and to precipitate out any junk that might be in here. The ice is made from distilled water. Solution was still warm, so I'm adding a few more ice cubes to get it nice and cold. Here you can see our solution is crystal clear, and it pulled through the filter in less than 2 minutes. Here's our filter. It's nice and clean. So now what we'll do is we'll put our gold solution up here on some heat and get it boiling for the next operation. I'm planning on doing a oxalic acid precipitation here, and I don't have a lot of experience with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer my gold solution into a larger beaker here, just to make sure that I don't run out of room in my reaction beaker. Now we'll cover this up and set this up on the heat and let it come to a boil. I'm going to put another beaker over here on this hot plate stirrer. This is a saturated solution of oxalic acid from a previous video. I made too much of it, so I saved it, and we're just going to go ahead and pour this into this beaker now, and we'll use this oxalic acid to do this precipitation. I'm going to reach into the oxalic acid beaker here with a pH test strip, and we're going to get a baseline on what our pH is here. And you can see it's a pH of 1. I'm using 10% hardware store ammonia to adjust the pH here. So we're going to measure out about 200 milliliters of ammonia in this beaker. I'm adding some of the ammonia to our oxalic acid solution, and we're trying to adjust the pH of this up to about a pH of 5 or so. We'll reach in here and check the pH now, and it's come up just a little bit, but not much, so we need to add some more ammonia. I'm going to pour in a little bit more ammonia here. Don't want to overshoot. I did save a little bit of the oxalic acid in case I do overshoot here. Alright, let's reach in here and get another test. And there we go. We're getting there now. That's looking like about a 3. I'm going to add just a little bit more of the ammonia here. This should do it. Let's get a pH test strip in here. That's a pH of 4. I've had success with 5. So I'm going to go for a pH of 5 here. And it's worked well for me in the past. And that's pretty close to a pH of 5 there. We're going to go with it. Okay, I've got both solutions boiling vigorously. What we're going to do now is just carefully pour the oxalic acid solution into the gold solution. Here we go. Gotta watch out because we could boil over with this. Whoa. Alright, we'll get some nice color change there. Gotta watch out not add it too fast. Something's happening down in there. It's looking good. Oh yeah, I can see a chunk of gold floating around down in there. I'm adding some more of the oxalic acid now. Not quite sure how much needs to be added, but I don't think you can overdo it. I'm looking for a cloud of brown gold precipitating out to start forming in there. Oh, I do see some chunks floating on the bottom now, or sinking to the bottom rather. See that big hunk of gold there? Here's our gold sponge that's precipitated out with the oxalic acid. I still got a little bit of oxalic acid left. I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit more in here. Looks like I got quite a bit of gold in solution, so what I'm going to do is add the rest of the oxalic acid into this beaker. I'll have to readjust it with some ammonia, and I'll do that off camera. I don't think I need to show that. And then once this is adjusted, we'll add the additional oxalic acid solution to our gold. I don't have to do this. I can tell by the color of this solution that we've got gold in solution here. But I'm going to do a Stannous test. Boom. Got a ton of gold in solution yet. So we're going to have to add some more oxalic acid. Alright, here we go. We're going to add some more oxalic acid. And one reason that this could be going back into solution is because I may have some excess nitric in here. And that's why it's taking a little bit more oxalic acid than I was anticipating. Here we go. Calm down now. Almost got all of the oxalic acid poured in. That's it. I've got all the oxalic acid added to the reaction beaker. All we can do is sit and wait and hope we added enough oxalic acid to get all the gold to precipitate. Okay, here we go. I've had the oxalic acid adjusted here. Got it to about a pH of 5. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pour it right in now and try to get the rest of this gold precipitated out of this solution. There's a brown cloud I was looking for earlier. That's looking real good. It's much better. Feeling better now. I must have burned up all the excess nitric that was in there. Quite certain that that's what the problem was. I'm going to add just a little bit more, just to make sure that we've got everything dropped here. Oh yeah, that's looking much better there. See a purple color going on. This looks pretty neat there. Is that purple? That looks pretty cool. See if we can pull up that purple color again. There we go. Look at that purple color on the top there. That looks amazing. Purple is the color of gold. I think we got it now. This is looking much better. Our gold is solid chunks down on the bottom of the beaker now, and the solution is relatively clear and colorless. So I'm going to turn the heat off now and let this cool down. It's been allowed to cool. So look at our gold sponge down there. And so what we're going to do now is pull this down off of the burner, and I'm going to reach in here right quick and get a Stannous chloride test on this. Make sure we've got all the gold dropped. I can tell by the color that all the gold has dropped, but it doesn't hurt to do a Stannous test anyway. As you can see, absolutely negative, no color change at all on the Stannous chloride test. Now we're going to take our beaker here and pour off the waste solution into our waste container. Get our gold sponge out of here. Okay, here's a look at our gold sponge down in the bottom of the beaker. I think what we'll do now is transfer this chunk of gold down into a smaller beaker. If I can do this. Boom. I'm adding a little distilled water here. And what we'll do is try to break this up and rinse some of the chemicals off of it. So I'm just going to stir it with a glass rod. Alright, here's what the gold looks like. And what we'll do now is put it up here on the heat and give it a quick boil. The gold has been boiling now for about 10 minutes in some distilled water. What we're going to do is just go ahead and pour this off now into my waste container. Alright, here's what the gold looks like in there now. It's in chunks. So what we'll do, so I'm going to put some hydrochloric acid in there now. Well, looks like we got a little residue there from some chemical that's left in there. Let's go ahead and do another water boil and see if we can get that that stuff out of there. Or maybe just some distilled water rinses here. Now I'm adding some hydrochloric acid, and we're going to redissolve this gold a 5th time. Now what we'll do is add about, say 300 milliliters of 29% hydrogen peroxide to this separatory funnel here, and we'll use that to dissolve the gold. I'm going to reach up here and pull the plug off of the top here. And now what we'll do is start a trickle of hydrogen peroxide down into our gold, and we'll use the hydrogen peroxide with hydrochloric acid to dissolve the gold for this 5th refining. We've been at it now for about 40 minutes. Almost all the gold has dissolved. Here towards the end, I've stepped up the flow of the 29% hydrogen peroxide. This stuff works fantastic for dissolving gold. And the best part about this is we won't have any excess nitrate to rid the solution of, because we're not using nitric acid at all in this process. Before I forget, I'm going to add a few drops of sulfuric acid to precipitate out any lead that may be present. I don't expect any lead at all in here this far into the process, but I add a little bit anyway just in case, and it doesn't hurt anything, doesn't cost anything. Pretty much got everything to go into solution. I'm going to turn off the heat now and pull this down and let it cool off. I'm going to add some ice to our gold solution here. Get it nice and chilled down real good so we can do a filtration on this. Quick review of the gas generator. I've got some sulfuric acid up here in an addition funnel, some sodium metabisulfite in the reaction flask there, a tube coming out, going to a flask with sulfuric acid. We're going to bubble the gas through here, clean it out, cool it off, and then the gas will come up through this tube down into our reaction beaker so we can precipitate our pure gold with SO2 gas. Here's our chlororic acid solution. It looks cloudy, but it's not. It's just the condensation on the outside of the flask. I'm going to add that right into our reaction beaker now. This reaction works best if our solution is diluted, so I'm going to add some distilled water to the chlororic acid solution and dilute the solution well. Everything is set. I'm going to reach in here and start an acid drip into the gas generating flask here. So we can start generating some SO2 gas by dripping sulfuric acid into the SMB. Okay, I'm starting to see some flakes of gold forming in there. That's probably coming off the delivery tube here. See how it cakes up on the delivery tube? Let's see if I can get in on that. We're starting to get quite a bit of gold built up on the top of the surface there, and it's falling down to the bottom of the beaker. These reactions are pretty cool to watch. The procedure is always the same, but sometimes the result comes at us just a little different. We've been bubbling the gas now for about 2 minutes. There is almost 3 troy ounces of gold in that solution, so it's a larger amount than I'm normally accustomed to doing. Getting our color changed now in the solution. Getting a rim of gold building up down there. See that? That's pretty neat looking. It's kind of adhering to the side of the beaker. Alright, I've got a bamboo skewer here and I'm going to try to unplug the end of our tube. This happens sometimes. The end of the tube gets plugged up with gold. There we go. Alright, I think I'll reach in here, get some of this solution on a piece of filter paper. Let's see how far along we are. Do a Stannous test. Oh yeah, we've got all the gold out of solution now. Everything's been precipitated, so we're good. Okay, we're gonna turn off the flow of acid into our generator now. Now we'll just bring the beaker to a boil and let that gold settle out and boil out any excess SO2 gas that might still be in that solution. I'm running out of room in my stock pot, so what I'm going to do is I've got to find some place to store this liquid temporarily, this waste liquid. So I'm just going to pour it into this beaker to get it off of our gold here. This has been boiling for about 10 minutes or so. Just going to pour this waste solution off into this temporary beaker so we can get our gold. Here's what our gold looks like in the beaker. I'm going to give it a rinse with some distilled water now, try to knock some of this gold down off the inside of the beaker there. I'm going to transfer the gold from this large beaker into this smaller one, and we're just going to keep rinsing it over and over. Rinse the gold over and over with water, and now we're going to do a real quick hydrochloric acid boil here, and then I'll rinse this over and over with some distilled water. Nice and clean, man. That's looking real good. Settles quickly. Oh yeah, that's how we like the gold looks. Got a little reddish tint to it. Alrighty, here's our pure gold powder. Quintuple refined 5 times. What we'll do now is just I'm going to put it into a dish here, and let's dry this off. There we go. Let's get this into a dish. Boom. Get as much moisture off here as I can. We'll put it up on the hot plate and dry this off. There we go. Wow, this gold came out looking amazing. It's high purity, refined 5 different times. Let's get a weight on this thing. I weighed the container before we started. The weight of the container with the gold is 46.1. Subtract the weight of the container, 399.7. We got 86.4 grams. And I think that's exactly what we're supposed to have. I'll post a link to the first 3 refinings done in a separate video. And what we'll do is we'll offer this for sale on my eBay store. This high purity gold powder. We'll sell it by the gram, and I'll put a link to my eBay site in the description of this video. Okay, this will conclude the video. Thanks for watching.